Hi everyone, it's Michelle. I'm back with another card to make with you today. The last video I did was watercoloring. It was heat embossing and watercoloring with the Blue Night Rubber Stamps wildflowers image and stamp. And everybody was really happy and excited to give it a try, especially people who had never watercolored before. But then some people asked me if I could do a card that didn't have watercoloring but had color, because they either didn't own watercoloring supplies or they still were a little bit hesitant to give it a try. So I thought I would do a very simple pencil card today, pencil coloring, that if you have any kind of pencils, you don't have to have high quality. You could have any pencils that will give you a nice color. This will give you some basics how to make a really quick, easy card. I kind of skipped past Mother's Day, and I picked an image that would be great for what I call guy cards, cards for guys, or for Father's Day. So I'm going to flip the camera down. I'll try to work slowly so that you can follow along. I'll try not to make the video too long so you don't lose interest. And I think that you're going to really like this card because it's very easy to do as long as you have some colored pencils. So when I flip the camera down, I'll focus on the work area and I'll first show you the supplies that I use, which are not very many at all. Okay, so I'm working today though, just so you know, with a Blue Night Rubber Stamps stamps set called Sailboats. And I love the set because it comes with the same image in two different sizes. And this is the card that I made. It's very bright in here today because I have a lot of sunlight in the studio. So I don't know if you could see, I have some blue tones down here for the water, some mixed tones. And I use their Blue Night Rubber Stamps Heidi Pettie CLOUD STENCIL, which I love. So I can't wait to show you that today, because if you were like me, challenged in making clouds, this is going to make it that you're going to want to put clouds on every card you make. So this is the card that I'm doing today. And I am going to flip the camera down now and show you everything, and then we'll get started to make the card. Okay. So the first thing that I have out is my Polychromos pencils. So I have this set of pencils. I like them. I use them all the time. It's nice. It's the full set, so it has 3 trays of pencils. But we only need a few pencils today, so we're able to slide this out of the way. And I'll show you what I chose to make this card. And you can use any brand pencils that you have. You'll just want to make sure that you choose the color families that I did so that you'll have the right color combinations to blend. So the first ones I chose for the water are 3, let me come back here, 3 blue colors. So I have a light, a medium, I should do them this way, a light, a medium, and a dark. So that's what we're going to use for the water. Then I chose, for the sails on the boat, I chose these 3 colors. Very light, like an almost white color, but it's got a gray tone, and then a medium, and then a darker gray. And then to color in the boat, I wanted to bring some color to the card and not keep it all so neutral, so I chose a red. And then I chose 3 browns that started to lean towards a red tone. So I've got a lighter, a medium, and then a dark, but if you put the red next to it, you see how it complements it and picks it all up. So I have that. I also have the, this is a Prismacolor colorless blender pencil. And this is a great little tool that will allow you to blend over the colors that you've laid down on your image. So those are the pencils I have. Then I have the makeup brushes that I like to use, but also craft stores sell their own that are specifically for crafting. But these are just makeup brushes. I have my little collection of them here, and I chose one that's the right size for the project that I'm working on today. So I'm going to set that aside. I also have, of course, my scissors. I have some score tape. I have a light blue ink pad. I chose to Stampin' Up, but any light blue that you have, this is going to be used on the clouds. So pick a color that you like for the clouds. And then I have the awesome cloud stencil that I told you about. This is sold by Blue Night Rubber Stamps, and it is the most amazing, I'll put it this way so you could see. It's the greatest cloud stamp. You can also flip it if you want and use the other side to do waves if you want. I haven't used it for that yet because I'm just stuck on making clouds all the time. So I love this stencil. Depending on where you position it is how you're going to get the look of the clouds that you want. And I used it, you know, to create these clouds up here on this card. So I have the cloud stencil. I also have just a dark marker. You could even use a Sharpie with a blunt tip. This is a little trick I'm going to show you for when I use foam behind the image to elevate it a little bit. So anything that's dark, here I chose the Spectrum because I don't really use this marker for coloring much, but I like it for edging. So it's just a dark gray Spectrum marker, and I use the chisel end for what I'm going to show you later. I also decided to stamp the image today with Ranger Archival watering can ink. Is the name of the color is watering can, and it's a really nice gray tone. I just didn't feel like using black, and I didn't want to use a brown, so I chose this color today. And the actual stamp set, let me show you, is this, which I love. It's a Blue Night rubber stamps. It's called Sailboats. It has this sailboat image in a large one, which is already inside of my Misty ready to stamp, but it also comes with a smaller one, which I love. And I've used both of them to create cards, and they're just so lovely. I love that you get both sizes in one stamp set. So this is the image that we're going to use today to create this card. I think I showed you all the supplies. So now I'm going to stamp the image with my Misty, and we'll get started with making the card. I have, oh, I should show you this as well. I have one ivory colored card that's already been cut and scored. I have the main matte layer, which is a brown metallic. So you'll see here that I used a brown metallic as the base matte. Then on top of it, we will have the image that's matted in this like deep cherry red color. And that's going to pick up the color on the boat. So eventually we'll have it looking like this. And the foam that I was telling you about is just a piece of fun foam. And you could use self-adhesive or just regular fun foam. And we're going to use this on the back of this later to elevate our image to give the card some dimension. So I think that's all the supplies. So I'm going to set everything aside except for the plain white cardstock that I'm going to stamp and color on. This is Spectrum Noir Ultra Smooth cardstock. I love this cardstock for coloring. For markers, it's great. There's no bleeding, and it has absolutely no texture. It is smooth as could be. And for pencil coloring, it's also great because sometimes if cardstock has texture in your pencil coloring and you want the smooth look, there's a texture and the pencil gets caught in it and you start to have like a mottled, speckled look. So this is ultra smooth, and it's going to give you great results for all of your coloring and alcohol marker coloring. So I just put it into my Misty. I'm going to ink up the image. When I made the first card, I stamped it twice because I wanted the gray to really show. So I'll do the same thing while I'm doing this with you now. So let me set the card aside. Just going to stamp the image. Give it a good press so the image is on there. And I'm going to stamp it one more time so I get a good crisp image. And then guess what? Then we're ready to color, and you're going to be amazed at how easy and fast this card goes. Okay, so I think that should do it. Yeah, there we go. We got a nice dark image for our stamping. Okay, so we are ready to color. So I'm going to set my Misty aside, and I'm going to try coloring, if I can, upside down. I'm not so great at that. So you might see me turning my my card around a little bit so I could see the focus on it. But this is my scrap, so I'm going to work on top of my scrap. The first thing you're going to do is let's work on the sails first. So take out your 3 gray toned pencils. Take the darker of the 3. And on this side where Blue Night already, I love Blue Night stamps because if you're new to coloring, even if you're not new, but if you're new, they give you hints on where there should be shading because they include on a lot of their stamps some shading. So I'm going to start coloring. I'm going to add the darker gray just around this edge of the sail. I'm not going to color the whole sail. I'm just going to lay it down, and I'm not pressing very hard, and I'm going back and forth in small little circular motions. And you also don't want it to be a straight line here, because it's going to look like you just drew a line. So it's okay if the line is a little bit crooked. That's what you want, because you want it to blend. So I'm adding now on those two highlight lines. I'm going to turn this a little for myself. Actually, I'm going to turn it completely this way. This way. I'm just adding the darker of the grays. So, you know, when you put down the first color, it's like, oh, what is this doing? It doesn't really look like I'm doing anything, especially because you're working with light colors. But you're going to see the magic of blending colors once you do this. So I'm happy with that, and I'm going to add a little bit of color to this sail just because I don't want it to be stark white when the whole image is colored. Okay, so we've got some color on there. We laid down the darker one closest to the edge of the sail on these two where there was already shading. Now we're going to take the medium gray, and we're going to go over that, but extends a little bit beyond. So now you're blending the two grays, but you're letting the lighter gray extend a little bit beyond the other gray. And that's how you're going to get that fade out into the sail, so that you don't have a vivid line of where the line of demarcation is. So here we go now. Look at how quickly this goes. I mean, this is like easy stuff, but yet it gives you a beautiful card. So I'm going to pick this up so you can see. Do you see some of the shading already? You could see it here and here. And remember, I'm not pressing very hard. Now I'm going to take the lightest of the colors, and I'm going to go over the other two that I blended and extend a little bit beyond into the white area. And that's how you're going to get really nice blending of three colors. You don't want to have stripes. Okay, so now I'm just going over this one. And you see how fast I'm going? And I'm not rushing. It's just natural because it doesn't really need, it's not tedious coloring. Okay, so now this is when I bring in my colorless blender pencil. And this is like a great little tool. Just go over everything. And what it does is it just blends those pencils together. And you're going to see it happening because as you go over it, you're going to see all of a sudden everything looks blended so nicely, and you're not going to really see separate colors. And also, especially along the edges of the color, it's going to blend right into the sail. Now this piece here of the sail, we didn't do a lot of blending, but I did want it to be gray, so I'm just going over that lightly. So guess what? The sails are done. So there's some really nice shading on there. You don't want something just white. Now, if you want, you can add the color a little bit wider, but I wanted to leave a white part of the sail. So I'm kind of done with the sails now. I'm going to keep my blender pencil handy, and I put the other pencils out of view. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to work on the base of the boat. We're going to work on this part of the boat. So first we're going to put the red down. I want to put the red first. So I have the red tone pencil, and we are going to go just in the areas that we want red, and that would be this little area here. And I am putting pressure on this because I do want the red to have good color. So we have that. We also have the edges of the boat. I wanted to bring some color in on the edges of the boat. So I'm giving it some pressure, guys. So don't be afraid. On the sails, we were going very lightly because we're shading. But here, we're actually coloring. We're adding some dark color. So I have that down there. I'm also going to put a little, very light now, a little bit of red just around this feature here that I truthfully don't even know what it is because I'm not familiar with sailboating. But whatever this is on top of the boat, I put a little red there. Now we're done with the red for now, unless we want to add more color. So I'm setting that aside. The next colors we're going to work with are the browns. I have the 3 brown colors here. I'm going to take the darkest one first, and I'm going to actually color the part of the boat that's in the water. And again, I want dark, dense, solid color here. So I'm putting a lot of pressure on this pencil. Okay, and I'm just moving it quickly over the cardstock. This cardstock is so smooth that you don't even feel it grabbing your pencil like some cardstocks do or some paper. So you can just really slide and glide across this cardstock to get your colors. So I've got that. Now I'm going to go, and the edges of the boat, again, I'm putting pressure on this because I do want it to be dark brown. So I'm going just around the edges here to give some brown color. And I'm going to add some brown, but I'm not pressing hard here. Here I'm just doing light because we're building color here on this piece. Okay, so now I'm done with that brown. Now I'm going to go to the lightest brown, and I'm going to come in here and fill in all the boards inside the boat, the floor of the boat. I'm filling all that in, and I'm going over the other brown a little bit because we do want to blend. Okay, so I got that, and I'm also coloring in here, all the places that you think would be the right spot to add color. Now I'm taking the medium color, and I'm going over that dark brown that we did, but only on the edges of the boat, the ends, the two ends, this end in the back and this end in the front, just to make those a little bit darker. Okay, now you'll see the edges are a little darker, and the outer edges of the boat are darker. Are darker, and the inside is lighter. Now I'm going to take the medium brown, and I'm going to color lightly over this. Again, I told you I don't know what it is. It looks like it could be a seat of some sort on the boat. I'm not sure. So I'm going over that, and I'm going right over the red because we do want to blend those colors. I'm using a little bit of a circular motion, and you could see the red highlights coming through. Let's see if you could see oops, here we are. I've got some red highlights here. Now we're going to take our blender pencil. That was the colorless blender. And we're just going to go over everything. And that's going to smooth it all out and blend it all together so that you don't really have lines. And it's just going to pull all the colors together. So, and you don't have to be so fussy. You don't want to go outside the lines to smear anything, but you just want to blend it all together. So guess what? The boat's done. But I'm looking at it and I'm thinking, I really want this piece of the boat a little darker. So even though I blended it, I could still go over it and I could darken it up, which I just did. And I'm going to take my blender pencil and just smooth that out. So now, guess what? The boat is done. So now we've colored the boat and the sails. The next thing we're going to work on is the water. So I'll set my pencils aside. I'm going to get out my 3 blue colors. I'm going to start with the darkest this time. And I'm going to go very gently because you don't want dark lines and it is a dark color. I'm just going to go around the base of the boat where it's touching and it's in the water because that's where there would be some kind of shadowing. So I'm going to go around there and color this in. Okay, now in the middle where there's some shadowing and rippling of the water, I'm going to, not even with an even motion, it's kind of zigzaggy. I'm just adding some of the darkest color. Okay, and don't worry because we're going to blend all this in. But remember now, you're using a very light touch with this pencil. You're not pressing down. You're getting almost like a misty color. So now we've got already the darkest blue. Okay, and here we go. The next one we're going to use is the medium blue. And you're going to kind of go in the same areas that you used the other one, but next to it. So just kind of blend this medium blue in all the areas where you had the darker color. And you see you're building up the water. The water is getting it's getting wider now because we're adding color. Just go around the edges, blend this all together, and you could put some here if you want. But very light touch, because if you do a heavy touch, this is what you're going to wind up with. You're going to have this. This is light. This is nice and light. So here's light. Here's what you want to do. And if you do hard, you're going to wind up with this. Okay, and for this is not what we're looking for. We want to go with the lighter shading. So very, very light touch with the pencil. You see how I'm even holding it? I'm holding it like it's a feather. And I'm just going around here like this, and I'm building up the color. And I'm going to pick this up and show you. You'll see there's even some white spots in there. I didn't put color across the whole thing. I just put it in certain areas. Now we're going to take the lightest blue, okay, and we're going to kind of fill in a little. We're going to go back, and we're going to fill in all these areas here. Okay, so now those areas that I just showed you that were white, we're using a very light touch of this pencil to kind of fill in. And you're going to edge towards the outer parts of the cardstock to kind of add color. And down here, we'll add some in because this all denotes that there's water. This is the water part of the image. So we're going to do that. Okay, you know, my dog is being so uncooperative. He's outside and he's barking like a crazy dog today. And I don't like him to do that because it disturbs the neighbors. So when I'm done with this video, I'm going to go bring him in the house. Okay, so I have the blues down. Now, guess what we're back to? Our colorless blending pencil. This is like a must, guys. So any place you see it, if you see it in Michael's, pick it up. I always order them like a dozen at a time from Dick Blick whenever I place an order, just because I like to have them here, there, and everywhere. Okay, so with the colorless blender, you're just going to go over everything, and it's just going to kind of mute out the colors. It's going to take all those colors that we laid down, the 3 blues, and it's going to kind of blend them together. Okay, so we are almost done with this part. Okay, now what we're going to do is we are going to take the blue ink that I had out, because we're going to use this on the sky as well. And we're going to take the brushes that I told you about, and we're just going to do this and then go off the paper a little, and then where the water is, start to give it some of that blue. And that's how we're going to fill in and get a little more variation in the color of the water. So you're combining here pencil coloring and adding some ink. So this is just like a great thing because it gives it such a nice blended look. Okay, so I'm going to pick this up and show you when I'm done so you can see what the finished product looks like. Okay, I'm almost done. All right, this is such a nice look. Okay, so here you have it. You see all the blues blended in, and I inked over it. So that's ready to go. The next thing I want to do is I'm going to set the ink aside for a moment. I want to take the medium. We had the 3 grays. Remember, we had these 3 colors. I'm going to take the medium gray, and I'm just going to go I'm emphasizing, guys, very gently. Just go around the entire image with this little swirling motion all around the outside line of the image. Okay, and you just want to add very gently. You don't want to see the swirls. You want to just see a shade of color. Just go very gently around the entire image. You're going to go around this part, the pole at the top, all around this, down the other side, and just very gently put some color because that's our shadowing. And go in here in this empty white space, and then in here add a little bit of gray. Not a heavy touch, just very, very, very lightly. And continue it down to the edge of the water. Okay, and you've built up some gray shadowing there. And then what we're going to do is, you see I'm going back over it again because now that I laid down the first line, I see I want to build it up. And that's how you're going to have a little bit of shadow around this boat when it's all done with a sailboat. Okay, then to just blend that in, I'm going to take the blender pencil and I'm just going to go over that gray a little bit quickly and gently. I'm not putting pressure. It's like a very light skimming over the color, and it's just going to give you a little shadow around the boat, or the sailboat, so that it doesn't look like it's just plopped onto this white background. It's going to kind of blend it in with everything. So if you notice, I'm going quickly and big broad motions. I'm not sticking real close into the image. I'm just kind of going over everything lightly. And that's just blending it all in. So I can see the shadow great. I don't know if you'll be able to, but there's a shadow around the entire sailboat. Okay. Now you get to have fun with the cloud stencil. Okay, so we're back to this now. I have the cloud stencil. And I'm going to work facing myself, though, because it's easier, but I will turn it around so you could see. I'm going to leave like a finger's length. I don't want the clouds right on the water, so I'm going to leave a little length here. Oh, let me just blend this in a little bit more. I'm going to clean that up a little. Okay. So I'm going to put the cloud stencil. I want to work with this. See, it's all different. The edges are different, which allows you to slide it across your work so you don't have the same cloud stacked up all over the place. So I'm going to put it, I want to start with this one. I like this position because I like these two clouds. And then I'm going to take my brush. I always brush off for a minute. Now, you don't want to go big because you're just going to have all blue in the sky. You want to stay very close with your brush and not go onto the sailboat as well. You want to stay very close to the cloud stencil. So just stay, see, I'm not really going like this. I'm staying very close. I'm inking up a little and I'm staying right next to the cloud stencil. I'm actually tipping my brush up and I'm just going very, very close. And you're going to see what happens when I lift up this stencil. Okay, so look at that. We have our first cloud. Can you see it? It's right here. Just a nice little blue. Now I'm going to take the same stencil, and I don't want to put it in the same position because you're just going to have identical clouds stacked up. I'm going to shift it over now. I moved it over this way, and I'm going to move it up about an inch because this is a small image. I'm going to ink up my brush off the paper, and then again, you're going to stencil. You're going to have your brush on the stencil and just extending a little bit over the edge. And try to stay away from the sailboat. You don't want to have ink on the sailboat because the clouds are being made behind the sailboat, not on the sailboat. Okay, so, and if your cloud shifts a little bit, just put it back because you'll have marks already from the ink that will show you where it goes. So if your stencil moves, it's not a problem. Okay, so now look at this. You see how the clouds are building? Where are you? Oh, here you are. Okay, you see the second cloud is in. Now I'm going to move this, and I'm going to go to this side of the stencil, this far ends. I like the shapes down here. And I'm going to put this a little bit closer. I'm not going to go quite a full inch. There's less space. And I'm going to start inking over here to create the clouds above that row of clouds. So now I'm on my third row of clouds. Okay, and you see how I'm holding the brush this way? I always hold the handle in my hand so it doesn't snap and have pressure. My finger is on the brush and I'm holding it this way. Okay, so I'm just adding some ink here along close to the edge of the stencil, and I'm not giving a heavy touch, very light. Now look, we've got our third row of clouds. There's still a lot of white space up here, so I am going to add one more row, and I think I'll go back and I'll do it with this part of the stencil. So, because you don't want to stack them up. That's, you're not going to have a great look then. It's just going to look like a bunch of identical computerized clouds that were printed in a row. Okay, so I have this. I'm just inking up the last ones. And guess what? Our clouds are done. So, can you see them all? They're so beautiful. The stencil is just amazing. This is the stencil. I know you saw me working with it. Okay, so the clouds are all done. So we've done the sails, the boat, the water. We added the clouds. And guess what? We're ready to put the card together. So I'll show you now how I'm going to assemble the card. And when it's done, it is going to look like this. Okay, we have the image ready to go. And how long did that take me, guys? I mean, I don't even know because I don't know how long the video is going, but 5 minutes, 7 minutes, 10 minutes, I'm not sure. Okay, so I have my pieces here. Remember, I had my scored card already, and I have my mat for the image. Whoops, let me move the stencil out of the way. I have my mat for the image. I have my base mat that's going to go on the card, and I have my piece of foam. So the first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to just take my ATG, I'm going to put adhesive on this, and I'm going to mat it with the red. So I chose the cherry red mat because the boat has that little bit of red in it, and it is a very mellow colored card, so I wanted to bring a little pop of color. So I'm just positioning this onto the matte layer, and that's ready to go. Okay, so I have that matted. The next thing I'm going to do is, this is the piece of fun foam that I use to put on the back to give the card some dimension. So what I'm going to do is, that's where I call for this marker. I'm going to take, whoops, wrong end. I'm going to take the chisel tip and I'm just going to run it all around the edges of the foam, so that the edges of the foam have a black line over them. The reason I'm doing this is because this is not black foam. This is light blue, and some of the colors in the pack are yellow, orange, pink. And if I put them behind this and I put the card together, there's a good chance you're going to see that yellow edge through here, or the purple edge, or the pink, whatever color the foam is. But by making that edge black, you literally are making that foam invisible behind the card. You're not, do you see it? You don't see it in there. So that's why I do that. That's my little trick, and I know I shared that with a lot of people who love that idea. So then I'm going to take, just because fun foam sometimes doesn't do a good stick onto cardstock, I like to give myself a little peace of mind, and I kind of go overkill with my adhesive, but that's just how I am, so I'm not apologizing. I just go a little bit over the edge with my adhesives because I never want a card to fall apart. So I put 2 pieces of score tape, and now I'm just going to put 2 little rows of ATG. And this was kind of cut to size. Actually, I just want to take a little trim off of this. It's a little bit too big. So being that I trimmed it, now I have to go over it again with my black marker. Okay, so any black marker, could be a Sharpie, anything that you have, as long as it's just a chisel tip, because it'll be nice and wide. I'm going to put this down on here. So now that's on the back. Peel. This is self-stick, but it's not the greatest, guys. So again, here I go. I'm putting my score tape on it. It gives me peace of mind. I don't want to be the person who sends a card to somebody and they take it out of the envelope and it's in 3 pieces. So I'm just adding a little bit of score tape. And then because I am how I am and I'm a little obsessive with adhesive, I added 2 little rows of the ATG. I'm going to peel off the score tape. Wait a second. Okay, I'll set that aside for a minute. Again, because this is metallic cardstock, this is brown metallic. Metallic cardstock, usually ATG works with it, but sometimes it just doesn't give a really good stick. So for my own peace of mind, I always put a couple of strips of score tape. I feel like it gives me peace of mind that it's really sticking. And then where if this wasn't metallic, I would have put ATG, I still do the same thing. I give it my little X in the middle. I do my whole little thing that I do with adhesive. After like 25 years of making cards, that's my routine, and you're not going to teach this old dog new tricks, so that's how I do it. Okay, so now I'm just going to put this onto the card. Get it ready. Here we go. Okay, so the brown mat is on the card, and we have one more thing to do. This is the sailboat. I'll do it this way. Maybe I'll get it right upside down. Okay, and then we're going to put the sailboat onto the card. There we go. And I noticed that my edge of my card, when I scored it, wasn't perfectly even. So that's an easy fix. I'm just going to take it off the camera, off the screen for one moment, and I'm going to trim it in my Caterpillar. And there we go. So we now have a great card that was probably 10 minutes to make. So you've used pencils, you used the Heidi Pettie CLOUD STENCIL, and you've used the Sailboats stamp from Blue Night Rubber Stamps. So here we go. This is the stamp set. This is the CLOUD STENCIL. Oh, here it is. Here's the CLOUD STENCIL. And we used ink, we used pencils, we used a pencil blender. If you've never used that, this is a chance to see how that works. So I hope that you like this card, guys. I enjoyed making it. Now with Father's Day coming, I have to really focus a little bit on masculine cards because I'm a flower lover and I'm forever making floral cards. So look what I have. I had the one that I tried before I showed you to make sure I wanted to do this on a video, and I had the one I made with you. I didn't put sentiments on them because I'm going to leave them. Sometimes I need a birthday card for a male person. And this isn't just for male. I mean, I have a woman that I know that loves to sail. I could easily give this to her. But I kind of like these kind of images for men. There's not a lot of stamps out there that are great for men. So I'm leaving it without a sentiment. And when I'm ready to use it, I'll just add. I could stamp inside. I could create a banner. You could even stamp over this. You know, if you want to stamp right onto the water or up into the clouds, you could do something right on the card. So I hope you enjoyed this video. I also have to tell you, I have 2 exciting pieces of news to tell you. Last time I made a card, when I did the wildflowers, I sat back and I went, ah, because my studio was a shambles. It was crazy in here. It was an embarrassment and I couldn't even hardly work. But I've been busting my butt. I work so hard in here. I've got it all. It's all in order. Yeah, there's still stuff like on the counters, but it's organized stuff. My work table, which you can't see, is completely clear. If I want to have friends over, I can. I'm so happy I put the effort into it because when my studio space is clean, my head is clear to be creative. The other good news I have to tell you, if you're my Facebook friends or you know me from my personal life outside of Facebook, you know that Gary and I, my sweetheart, we've been on a weight loss journey since last April. And next week makes 1 year that we joined Weight Watchers. Gary's lost 87 pounds. The transformation in him is unbelievable. Physically, he's not walking with a cane anymore. He's back to golfing. We go places. He's not winded. And I just I've been working so hard, guys, to get to my first milestone of 100 pounds. And I made it on Sunday. When I went to Weight Watchers, I got on the scale. I was like, no, I hope I made it. And I did. I lost 100.4 pounds. Got to tell you the 0.4. So now guess what? I'm not sitting here telling you, I did it, I'm done. I'm sitting here telling you, thank you so much for all the support and encouragement. You compliment me all the time. You're always complimenting Gary on how we look. Our bodies have gone through so much change, losing between us almost 200 pounds. But the journey's not over because truthfully, we both were severely overweight and we have a long way to go. And now I can close the book on my first 100 and I'm beginning a really joyful journey towards my second 100. And Gary is right with me. So I can't wait to see what this year holds. And really, I want to take a moment here because so many people who supported me and encouraged me and complimented us and had such a big interest in our weight loss are really a lot of people from my card making community on Facebook and groups like Stamp Junkies and Passionate Paper Creations. And I'm just so grateful for the friendships. And I'm also blessed because in my personal life off of social media, I have a tremendous group of friends and family and Weight Watcher friends as well. So yay me. I don't often praise myself for anything, but I feel like dancing on my work table here because I can't believe I'm 62 years old. I've been overweight since I was a toddler. I was a chubby little kid and I just became heavier through life. And I am testimony that you can make changes in your life no matter what age you are. It just has to all be here and it's what you want and you have to have the right support, and I'm just so grateful. So I didn't want to let this video go by without saying thank you because this was like a really big, exciting week for me. On Sunday, I lost my 100 pounds. Yesterday was my birthday. I'm just like, if you could be happy times a million, I'm happy times a million. And I'm just very blessed. So thank you so much. Let's go back to the card though. I went off on my own little thing. This is the card. I hope that all of you who have pencils and never color or are afraid to color or think you can't color, just do it, guys. Think about all of you who did the watercoloring card with the Blue Night Rubber Stamps Wildflowers, my previous video. The response to that was enormous. People who had watercoloring tools in their house and never picked them up are now addicted to watercoloring. So get out your pencils, color, color, color. You're going to love making these cards. Thank you so much. If you want the stamp and you love it because it has the large sailboat and the small one, just go online to Blue Night Rubber Stamps. They have a great website. They're the most wonderful people. It's my pleasure to support their business. So that's the stamp from them. While you're on there, don't check out your shopping cart unless you get the cloud stencil, because it's just a dream. It's wonderful. And if you want to do waves and line it up for waves, you could do that. If you haven't ordered the brushes from a crafting store, just go on to Amazon and look for toothbrush style makeup brushes. That's what it's called. Toothbrush style makeup brushes. They come about 10 in a package, from tiny up to this large one. And you can get them for anywhere between $9 and $15 for a set. You just choose which company you want. But you can also buy them from a crafting store because they have the same things. And that's it. I hope that you enjoyed the video, and go get your pencils out and make the card. Okay, guys, have a great day.